very much. I think it's time to kick it off. So my name is Jérôme. I'm the vice president of the Crypto Valley Association. It's really great to have all of you here for the last in-person event of the Crypto Valley. So we'll spend the start of the evening together with a presentation, a panel, and then after a cocktail. So first of all, I start by the thank you. So of course, thank you to Google who host the event tonight and will allow us to have the cocktail after. So Google, especially Google Cloud, might be a preferred partner for Web3 company. So think about them in your cloud project. Then I will thank, of course, our speaker and panelists for bringing the content. Tonight, you see the three panelists and speakers. We'll introduce them later. And yeah, of course, all the Crypto Valley Association team who made this event possible. We had Nikki, who's not here, quite far away, but she did a great job about communication, pushing us to do it. It's not easy to do an event at the end of the year where we all have packed agenda. Keep in mind, it's just a non-profit association. We are all volunteer. We all have real jobs. So I hope you will appreciate this evening together tonight. So the agenda is, yeah, I will say a few words about Crypto Valley Association for the people who don't know who we are. And then we'll go with exclusive sneak preview from Dominic about the Bitcoin Suisse 2024 crypto outlook, which is not yet published. So you might be one of the first one to have the first few information. And we will do then after a panel discussion with Kevin, Rad, and Dominic. So that's the plan for tonight. Roughly 1 hour of talks, presentation, panels, depending on the question you might want to ask us at the end, and then after one hour of apéro until they kick us out. I don't know exactly when, but we could stay. Okay, so I start about a few words about Crypto Valley Association for the people who are not member. So all the speakers here are member, corporate member, Bitcoin Suisse, Kaiko, and Kirok. We have 250 roughly corporate members. So what do we do? As I said, non-profit association. We are an industry association, just gathering the whole crypto community in Switzerland and abroad, helping to connect you, networking like we'll do tonight, collaborate in working groups, advocate, that's the lobbying part. We are one of the point of contact for regulator, mostly in Switzerland. We meet with a local regulator almost twice per year. And of course, innovate in our space, which innovate all the time. We have 10 working groups, and that's the most important slide you have to remember, because that's where the work is done. We not only do networking and drinks, we really work within this 10 different working groups, which are like vertical. We have tried to represent all aspects of our ecosystem, and maybe you can pick one of them already that could be interesting for you. So when you're a member, you can join this working group. You can suggest some ideas, projects, you can collaborate, and you can learn, you can network. Everything is within this working group. And the chapters are more horizontal, are local based. So Western Switzerland chapter for the French-speaking area of Switzerland, where I'm based. Maybe you can recognize to my French accent. Yeah, we are proud to have, we are proud to coming from Zug. Of course, Zug is still the heart. It's where everything started. 1/3 of our members are roughly in Zug. The second third are everywhere in Switzerland, and the last third are everywhere abroad, outside of Switzerland. So that's why we started to launch international chapter, like Middle East and Latin America, to attract entrepreneurs from abroad, to help our members to go abroad, and to also attract investors in Switzerland. And in these groups, what do we do? So first of all, we produce contents. Contents might be papers, guide. We just published a research journal, by the way. Everything is accessible on the website. So these valuable contents are made by our member, for our member and the whole community. We also, on top of that, organize events. So online events, mostly like 2-3 per month, and also in-person event like tonight. And last but not least, our flagship event, the Crypto Valley Conference in Zug since 2017. We have not missed a year, even the 2020 COVID years. We did it a bit postponed, but we did it. This year, you can save the date, June 2nd, 3rd, for the event we organized during 2 days in Zug. Roughly 1,500 attendees. So that's quite a big one, maybe one of the biggest in Switzerland and one of the top in Europe. Once again, still organized by non-profit association. We do that with and at HSLU, or School Lucerne, in the Reutkreuz campus. So the ecosystem, the members, so anybody can be a member. You can join as an individual member, like the 850 members. You just go online, you pick your membership. If you want to involve your company, then you can be a corporate member. So, and it depends on the size. We have startup members and corporate members. And if you look at the top 50, these are only the biggest company in terms of size, and also the support they gave us in terms of fees, because we are only financed by membership. We are fully independent. We do not get any public money. We are fully independent. We just are members base. So there are some corporate in crypto. There are some non-crypto tech, Swiss, non-Swiss. So it gives you a rough idea of the people you can meet when you become a member. So here are membership fees. Everything is on cryptovalley.swiss. It starts from 100 Swiss francs only for individual to 5K for corporate. And of course, join us, social media, more than 20,000 followers on LinkedIn and Twitter. That's a good first point to catch up with our ecosystem. So that's it for the presentation of Crypto Valley. And then tonight we are here for an outlook of 2024, but also let's have a look back at this crazy year we have. Only 12 points. January, remember, bankruptcy of Genesis. February, launch of Bitcoin ordinals. March, remember the 3S, Silvergate, Signature, Silicon Valley Bank collapse. It seems like it was a few years ago. No, it was just this year. April, MiCA, the European regulation for market in crypto asset regulation. I like this one. May, Bhutan, did you know that? Bhutan invested $500 million to launch crypto mining in the Himalaya. $500 million by the Bhutan. This is amazing. June, not as great. Operation Choke Point 2.0. You might have heard about that phrase. But yeah, really a crackdown by US regulator on crypto. This is not good. Even if we are not in the US, okay, we got some members from the US. They relocated in Switzerland, but this is not good for our whole industry. Let's hope that it gets better in the other side of the pond. Then July, once again, regulation. The SEC lost a case against Ripple. Remember the long case for XRP. August, PayPal launched its stablecoin. That's a good one for crypto adoption in mainstream. Another one, Visa in September, expense stablecoin settlement. Getting close to the current date, October. The SEC approved the listing of Ethereum future ETFs. November, Binance story. Remember, it was not a long time ago. The 4.3 billion fine. CZ stepping down, pleading guilty. Well, and yeah, December. We are like 12th of December. Can we say we just at the start of a bull run? I believe so. So since December 1st, we got like plus 10%. It was plus 18% a few days ago. Year to date, 140% on Bitcoin. And maybe in a few days, we will see the approval of the Bitcoin futures, Bitcoin, not futures, Bitcoin spot ETF. So yeah, that was only for 2023, an amazing year. That's crypto years, like you multiply by 7. That's now let's look at what we could have next year. Let's look at the outlook. And I will call Dominic. Dominic is a crypto researcher at Bitcoin Suisse. And as I said, we will have the chance to have sneak preview to the your report. Maybe you can introduce your report once I'm launching your slides. I need to do a come here. I need to do some tech setup. I do everything tonight, huh? MC and tech, but I will do it. Yeah, please take a mic or introduce yourself, and I launched the presentation.
Yeah. So welcome everybody. I'm not sure, is it working?
You push on the button.
So also welcome everybody from my side. It's great to speak today in front of a full house, and yeah, I want to thank the CBA and Google for hosting this event. Yeah, and as Jérôme said already, I will give a sneak preview of our annual Outlook publication that will launch next week. So the full release is only next week. But I guess, yeah, the majority of the audience wants to get a bullish outlook, and I think I'm able to provide that. But no financial advice today, I have to say this. So we start with the final assembly line. So as many in our industry, I have no background in finance, nor do I have a background in computer science, but my background is in material science and aerospace engineering. And while I worked at the Outlook, at this year's Outlook report, I felt there are a lot of parallels to a final assembly line from aircrafts. So the final assembly line is a place where major components of aircraft, such as the wings or the fuselage and engines, come together after they were in manufacturing for many months. And they come together from different places of Earth, and then result in this great engineering piece, which is an aircraft. So how does that refer to crypto, you might ask? I see similar parallels with different demand and supply components that were in development for more than a decade now. And we see that these components are currently assembling and might materialize in the upcoming months and years. So today we will touch base on different supply and demand domains. And we start with different demand pillars that we observe. So the first one is the most obvious one. It's a US spot ETF. The odds are really high, like above 90%, according to Bloomberg analysts, that we see approval in January. But why is that important? The US spot ETF will bring legitimacy, regulatory clarity, and most importantly, it will bring efficient access for the most capital-heavy market, which is the US. For instance, the US stock market is 22 times higher than the Canadian one. In case you ask, we have a spot ETF already in Canada, but it had not a big impact. But this one certainly will have, in our opinion. On the other hand, it will also provide access to a major share of the wealth management sector that couldn't access Bitcoin at scale without an ETF wrapper. That's important. And there's a huge share of wealth management that could also can't gain exposure in Bitcoin or digital assets with a futures-based product. Then we have a look at different metrics that we feel you can measure institutional demand. For example, the CME flipped Binance in open interest. Then we have the huge Coinbase we saw this year. Coinbase stock outperformed Bitcoin even. For me, it's an indicator of institutional demand. Then we have the narrowing down of discount to net asset value in GBTC, right? And finally, we have an all-time high in Bitcoin under management in ETPs. All of these are signs that the institutions are approaching our industry. And then finally, what you see on this chart here, it's transactional flows in cryptocurrency. I saw that in a Chainalysis report, and I found it pretty substantial because the flows are already dominated by institutions. And especially the US is highly driven by institutional flows with 77%. And we think this whole setup kind of will eventually lead to long-term buy-side flows. And since these are very capital-heavy entities, you might understand that it only takes a very low relative allocation of these entities to move the needle, right? Next up, where do we think do these buy-side flows like enter? And we created several model portfolios. Here you see one for Bitcoin only. Basically, what happens if you have small allocations of Bitcoin in a diversified portfolio that consists of equities, bonds, cash, and gold. And what we found is you're not only like enhancing the performance of your portfolio significantly, but you also do it on a risk-adjusted basis. So it's kind of actually a no-brainer to have Bitcoin in your portfolio, right? And what we also found is the largest marginal impact, like on a relative basis, happens at a 1% and 2.5% allocation of Bitcoin, which is pretty cool because it kind of shows you just need to allocate a little bit and your portfolio gets a massive boost already. So overall, we feel that with the ETF, like assuming we get an ETF, Bitcoin will earn a distinct role in portfolio construction, basically. And it already proved that it's a great source of diversification in the last decade, basically. And it also proved that it's kind of a unicorn asset when it comes to correlation, because it can, sometimes it behaves like exponential gold, sometimes it behaves like a growth stock. It can be basically anything, but usually it outperforms anything else. And that this outperformance you see on the following table, it kind of shows the last 11 years from 2013 to 2023, and we see in 8 out of these 11 years, Bitcoin heavily outperformed any other asset class. There were only 3 years where we had like a rather significant drawdown, right? So we have an annualized return of more than 110% on Bitcoin. And actually the follow-up, the Nasdaq, which is considered, okay, like a super performer, only yielded like less than 20% and gold at 1.3. So the annual top performer is Bitcoin. It dominated like basically on 8 out of these 11 years. And what I want to mention here is the blue dot on the right in 23. Even the stocks digital asset blue chip index that we launched last week in collaboration with stocks, and it's actually a better proxy for the digital asset space. Even that index outperformed every other asset class, even on a risk-adjusted basis. So these were kind of institutionally triggered demand pillars, but now I want to put some emphasis on what why we expect demand organically, like organic demand by adoption as well, not only by institutions. And what I want to point or show here is we have different domains such as gaming. A lot of games were in development now for 2 to 3 years that were funded like 3 years ago, and that now are very close to launch. Gaming is a huge sector, as many of you probably agree. Like there are games like Roblox or Fortnite that have like 200 million monthly active users. It's huge. And I have a high confidence that we see one game in 24 that will have a breakthrough moment and that will be a AAA game. And what that does is kind of, it pulls in on-chain citizens without them even knowing, maybe. So other domains that I want to focus on is betting and gambling. There are very nice platforms like Rollbet or Winner that yield sustainable and real yield. You can become the house. It's fully decentralized, at least Winner, I know. Then there's progress on social platforms in off-chain assets or real-world assets. And then crypto also acts as a risk mitigator. We will also see adoption through cryptocurrency as a risk mitigator, as an alternative to CBDCs, as a solution to deepfakes, but also as a kind of privacy-preserving technology. Like just this week, we saw, what was it, that the government is spying on via Android and Apple smartphones, right? And then finally, we will also see and already see adoption through cryptocurrencies or digital assets as a hedge, like in Argentina or in Venezuela, where the residents are kind of suffer from monetary debasement and high inflation. And there we already see like big spikes in adoption from tokenized dollars, but also from Bitcoin and ETH, for example. And I want to point out here that most of these domains could not get into this position without having an enabler. And these enablers just happened like within the last couple of months. We made huge progress on the scaling side with roll-ups, with parallelized execution, with data availability layers, with CK proofs. But we also made progress on the UX side with account abstraction, for example. And lastly, on the privacy side, we now have fully homomorphic encryption, which is a game changer, basically, because it actually allows full on-chain privacy. And then this aspect, to me, it's the most overseen one. It's a huge demand pillar, and it's the great wealth transfer. So what do I mean by that? Baby boomers, sorry for all of the baby boomers here. Baby boomers hold more than 50% of the US wealth, right? And they will retire through 2045. Now, interestingly, by 2030, millennials will already hold 5 times more wealth than they do today. But why is that important? So the important aspect here is the adoption rate of millennials already today is 5 times higher on average than of baby boomers. So one doesn't have to be a genius to see how much value, like what are these millennials buying, for example. Galaxy just last week put out a report where they estimate that we see 20 to 28 million on buy-side flows daily over the next 20 years. Like that's just mind-bending demand. So now if we have a quick look at the supply side, obviously the halving is happening next year. Historically, the halving, post-halving returned nice gains. And the early trends of this 4-year cycle already echo past patterns. So we expect it will like pretty much behave like previous cycles. And some number crunching at a valuation of 44K per Bitcoin, we have more than 7 billion less in potential sell-side supply. It just vanishes with the halving event. And now if we put that into context with some inflow estimates of the spot ETF, various sources estimate that we see 10 to 15 billion inflows through the US spot ETF in the first year. So kind of we outperformed this already twice. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. Then on the long-term holders and short-term holder supply, we see that short-term holders are exhausted. It's the lowest line here, the grayish line. So short-term holder supply, we perceive that as kind of a proxy for the actual available supply in the markets. And it's like ranging at multi-year lows. While the long-term holder supply that did not move in more than a year is at all-time highs. 70% of the Bitcoin supply did not move. And that kind of indicates to us that these are strong signs of like a community of believers, of people that just don't sell and that just pull supply from the market and make the asset class kind of pretty much, yeah, it's kind of a supply squeeze. And then on the other hand, we also see that there's no signs yet of this long-term holder supply trend inverting. So it's kind of, it looks currently like it's up only basically. Then on the exchange reserve side, we also see all-time lows. There are only 2 million Bitcoin left on all exchanges in sum. And this is kind of, it suggests kind of this, that all of that supply is migrating to venues that are less liquid and that are maybe also less speculative, right? So overall, yeah, we are dealing with a setup where there's just not a lot of supply left. I want to note here that some of that supply is also migrating into ETF vehicles or TradFi vehicles, obviously, but that also means it's kind of illiquid. One more thing, the free float supply is also since a couple months the first time that it's declining. So the issuance does not outperform the free float supply anymore. If we go back to our final assembly line again, we have these different demand pillars and the different supply pillars. And the picture I wanted to paint today is basically all of these demand components, including institutional demand, is straight up running into a heavy supply constraint. And if you're familiar with the law of supply and demand, you don't have to be a genius to know that assuming all of what I said is right, that the price equilibriums should be way higher. I want to talk about a little bit about the ugly. We still expect macroeconomic turmoil in the first half of 24. The yield curve is still has to uninvert, and usually a recession follows. Then the ETF, it's not in the books yet. The odds are very high, but they might also get rejected. And there's some chance that we also face more regulatory pressure, like the bill of Elizabeth Warren just recently. So that's kind of the ugly. So take everything that I said with a grain of salt, but overall the odds are very good for digital assets. And then finally, I want to put some emphasis on this whole analysis was kind of centered around the dynamics on how supply and demand might influence the performance of Bitcoin and digital assets. But ETFs, for me, it's important to state that ETFs are kind of only a vehicle. Like what provides substance and the juice is that emergent monetary technology that allows us to transfer value in a permissionless, immutable, and decentralized fashion, right? And to me, price is only a lagging indicator of these fundamentals. Finally, what else can you expect in the outlook? We have a great interview with Harald Rauter on Bitcoin screen turn. We have a super nice crypto and macro piece that kind of deals with how macro influences the crypto space. And then we have an interview with Matthew Siegel, who is head of digital asset research at VanEck on sound valuation models, because that's also a topic that is still unclear. How do we find fair value for cash flow assets or for store of value assets? And then finally, we have the Future Tides article where we have 13 digital asset predictions. And with that, I want to thank my colleagues, Markus Dapp, Dennis Overman, and Marcus Benvenuto, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you, excellent. You can stay here. That was very amazing. Thank you for presenting to us this in preview. So I think people can register to make sure that they receive the full version. It just went live, the forms went live 1 hour ago on Bitcoin Swiss websites. You can just let your email and you will get the next week. When is it
next week, 19th of December is the release.
All right, thank you very much. So now I'm calling my panelist. So we will have Kevin de Patul from Kirok, founder and CEO. Welcome, Kevin. And Radoslav from Keiko. Please have a seat. All right, that's perfect. Then maybe I will try to switch off so that the streaming will have not the banners, but we'll have the camera stop presenting. How is that? Silvana, if you are in the room, if you can help me to maybe have the camera in big so that the stream can have the camera. I don't know exactly what to do. But if not, we will let the banner. Okay, so thank you very much, gentlemen. So we will start this.
Is it good like that?
I think, it's recording, but it's recording.
Yeah. Mhm.
Let's give 1 more minute so that people online can get the picture in big. If not, then we
I don't know
will continue like
how it
this.
works.
Okay,
Can
no
try
problem.
disconnected from the call.
Yeah.
And then maybe it works.
Okay, no problem. Thank you, Silvana.
Unfortunately, our tech support is
Yeah, Silvana, by the way, is from Google, and once again, thank you for hosting us, Silvana. Tonight. Okay, so I want to start with a look back. Okay, I want to start before talking about 2024. I want to start with a look back. I made a quick review on what was my highlight per month. So I would be interested to know, what would be the pivotal shift for you? Maybe you can start with you. Take 1, 2, 3 of 2023 this year.
Well, I guess the biggest change for me was, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I guess the biggest change for me was actually entering the crypto markets, coming from traditional finance after 15 years. I think very noteworthy was obviously the 3S, as you said. That was, I think, almost less of a crypto story than almost like a inflation and real money story. But also very important kind of how resilient the crypto market has proved itself this year. This was truly impressive and also kind of formed my decision to kind of move away from investment banking and come into crypto.
I have another additional question for you. So what was the main difference when compare investment banking career to with the crypto fanatics like us? So
well, I mean, there's definitely more optimism in the crypto than in investment banking. It's a growing market, rightfully so. So I think kind of after started in investment banking 2 months ahead of Lehman.
Yeah.
So I've basically seen 15 years of just kind of the investment banking collapsing, and crypto is just a whole different animal. It's growing, it's enthusiasm, rightfully so, and it has a bright future ahead.
Amazing. Maybe you can say a few words about Keiko. I know Keiko. I know you are rockstar CEO. Keiko is one of the most performing crypto startup in France, in Paris.
Yeah, I mean, we provide data for the crypto economy, right? We can provide you data on decentralized exchanges and centralized exchanges. We have indices. We have wallet solutions for source of wealth. So we are a data company, and we are here to service the growing crypto space.
Okay, amazing. So, Kevin, founder, CEO of Kirok. Maybe you have to push so that it's green. Yeah, that's green. So,
I like green candles are better.
Yeah, green, only green. Tell us a bit more about your company. And I know you were recently moved to Switzerland, to the Crypto Valley. So.
Yeah, very recently indeed. So good evening, everyone. I'm Kevin. So I'm the co-founder and CEO of Kirok. We're a market maker in digital assets. So I founded a company back in 2017. So Rad was saying he joined finance just before Lehman. When you saw that rather significant drawdown of Bitcoin of minus 73%, I founded a company just before that. So it was a great time to start. So 2017, so we've been around for 6 years. And basically we provide liquidity. So we work as market makers on exchanges, working with issuers, working with the exchanges themselves. And we also provide liquidity of venues for institutionals looking to trade with our OTC desk, both on spot and options around digital assets. So yeah, we've been around for 6 years. Today we're a team of 180 people dispatched in 28 countries. And indeed, one of those new countries was Switzerland. So I moved in Switzerland in February. We opened an entity here in the course of the year. And so we're mainly active on the OTC side here.
Side.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess that's somewhat not true because I'm in Geneva, right? As you can hear from my accent as well.
Yeah.
I speak French, so I'm in Geneva. Our entity is based in Zug.
Okay.
Guess why? And yeah, we're mainly here to develop our OTC business from Switzerland. We've seen a business environment that is extremely positive, a regulatory framework that is very forward-looking, which is, Europe is catching up with MiCA, but still, I think it's quite an exception here in Switzerland. And that's been a very, very positive year for development.
So your key highlights from the past year, so 2023.
I think for me, what is interesting is the change in dynamic. When you highlighted it, right? Where we started, where we were in December 22, the start of years in 23 was getting even worse. For me, really, the turning point, honestly, was the partial Ripple victory in July. I think that really changed the dynamic completely because even a month before, so you see the SEC, suing Binance. But then the SEC suing Coinbase as well, and that just this Operation Chokehold, whether it was coordinated or not, it does look a bit like it, but it wasn't confirmed. But then a month later, you see the win actually from Ripple. I think that tremendously changed the dynamic on the market, kind of also really ended the negative momentum and then started to go to a lot more kind of going from wins to wins over the last 6 months. So for me, that was really the turning point of 23.
Yeah, resilience. I think that's the word. Dominic, you talked a lot about next year. A few words about what happened this year for you at Bitcoin Suisse, because you're not only doing Bitcoin at Bitcoin Suisse, huh?
No, yeah, of course not. Yeah, that sometimes is a little bit confusing. Of course, we have a pretty big token universe. What excited me a lot was, for example, the launch of the blue chip of the stocks digital asset blue chip index that happened last week, because we put a lot of effort into crafting kind of this index. We also have pretty sophisticated underlying metrics on how to decide what is blue chip and not. So that was kind of one of the nice moments for me that the invest and advice team shipped that one. Other than that, of course, it was a pleasure for me to see how Bitcoin and the digital asset space overall performed this year. While we still faced a lot of challenges also in the regulatory space. But yeah, as the colleague said, like the crypto space proved that it's like incredibly resilient, and it's like it makes hope for the upcoming years, I guess.
So maybe a question. I think you could be the Bitcoiner tonight. So tell us if you can answer this one. What about ordinals? Like this year, it seems we started with ordinals. Is it a major breakthrough? Is it just something small? You have thought on that?
So I just want to clarify, I'm not a Bitcoin maxi. Like I like a lot of digital assets, but yeah, good question. So with Bitcoin, what we observed, I think it's a great development because the Bitcoin currently, at least in my opinion, does not really have a sustainable security model. At some point, all Bitcoins will be mined, and miners probably will rely on fees. So what Eric Wall and the Taproot wizards did there is, to me, it's a positive thing, a positive development, because it kind of triggers development. Like the community might change directions, and we already see that with, for example, Stacks is a pretty cool project. We see more layer 2 developments happening on Bitcoin right now because they're actually forced to think about, how do we deal with more block space demand, right? And by having, for example, now a CK rollup, maybe in the future, you get both. You get functionality, but
CK
also
rollup on Bitcoin.
Yeah, it's kind of in development.
Oh.
At least they try. Obviously, you need, like, if you want to do it really, really proper sound, you need to change opcodes. Not sure if that is happening, but at least there's some development happening, and I feel like functionality is good because fee follows functionality. And it will be overall good for Bitcoin if we have sustained block space demand and higher fees. And miners get paid even when there's no block subsidy anymore, right?
Okay. Maybe we deep dive a bit on technology. What kind of innovation could we see in 2024? Like in 2022, we had the merge, like the big proof of stake Ethereum. Then this year, the Ordinals, ZK, zero knowledge. Maybe do you have an idea about what's coming next on the innovation side?
So I guess I'm going to have a somewhat contrarian take for a blockchain event. I really don't care. On this specific topic, what is the next technological breakthrough? Because the way I look at it, I think it's a big fallacy in this industry, is that we care about the tech too much. I think what matters is really the users that end user actually get. And you shouldn't, as a user, you shouldn't care that it's based on the blockchain. You shouldn't care that the thing. What you should care about the benefit of decentralization, but you don't need to know that it's decentralized. You don't need to know that it's a blockchain. I think there's just too much tech wrappers around what we do in digital assets. So it's a bit of a provocative answer, but what matters to me the most is actually the actual users that we will get from this technology, and how is it going to go mainstream. So is it going to go through gaming? As Dominic mentioned, I do think it's an interesting take. Is it going to be through real world assets? Potentially, is that massive use going to come from much higher throughput, like some of the effort being done on Solana, for example? Maybe, but I think that's what matters the most to me is really what is going to be that mainstream use. Like currently, it is still a comment that resonated with me quite a bit from last year, a bit earlier last year when things started to crash. Somebody told me the entire crypto economy can collapse. It would impact a very small minority of the world, a very, very small. And I think that this is what matters the most to change to me. It's okay, when does this become a technology that actually has use for the greater number? And I do think that, of course, this comes through additional technological breakthrough, better user experience, better more speeds, more security, more of everything. But I think it's very important as an industry in general to focus on this actual use and the use cases rather than purely the tech itself.
Good answer. Do you want to?
Yeah, I tend to agree with most you said. I think the biggest change would be if actually one of the, like I said, say the settlement systems, for example, for equities or for fixed income would change in the blockchain, right? We already have JP Morgan running his own token for repo business, and if actually we would.
Is it really blockchain? It's laws, permission? Is it really?
My understanding is it's a coin which they use basically for the repo business, but like just actually doing some real economy based on the blockchain, right? That would be one. And obviously the second game changer, if we actually get that ETF approved in January, as you said, it could bring some institutional demand. It could actually enter maybe some 401ks if people are adventurous on that. And actually kind of one of the big drivers for US equities is the 401ks. Basically, that's the pension funds for the workers in the US, right? And these are driving a lot of institutional demand for equities. And that would actually way outperform even your like 10 billion estimation, right? And if we just get like 1% allocation or something, right? Yeah. These are huge amounts, right?
Yeah.
That would actually be a true game change.
Yeah. Yeah. Double click on that Bitcoin ETF spot. I've heard some people say, of course, it's great news, but it won't be like a game changer on day one. No. What's your point on the impact on the market, on the price?
So this is kind of just assuming. I would assume that these guys have already kind of gotten some of the Bitcoin in, right, and are ready to go day one, right? So there's not going to be an institutional demand or like a demand day one. However, as soon as some of these 401ks take them, and some people actually kind of proactively buy the new marketed product by BlackRock or by the other providers, that's going to create some substantial demand, ongoing demand as well. So we can have the ETF as a big driver of price, which then kind of creates, and then also but just price action in general. Like if we continue to perform 16% per week or something, that could also be, that's going to lead to just greed going after the Bitcoin. Right?
I want to stay on that ETF spot because I think that's the big topic these days. It seems if they get approval by the stake, they will get approval at the same time.
Yes.
Which will win? The biggest, the BlackRock, or what do you think?
Well, BlackRock has the advantage that kind of they have already their distribution channels, right? They have a huge marketing machine. it will be able to kind of push it through the end user, right? However, as if the market is actually going to grow, there's going to be room for everyone, right? There's not just one S&P 500 ETF, there are hundreds of it. Right?
Price, you think price could be a difference, like price or no? Not really.
I think we're gonna
Distribution.
I think we're gonna soon start then race.
Competition on
Yeah,
price.
That's always gonna be the first thing, right? Which is still gonna be good because there's more and more money gonna come into the market, right?
Yeah. Okay, broaden a bit and let's stay with you, Rad, and then after Dominic about the market sentiment right now. Are we in bull run?
Yes.
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 Okay.
You cannot be in a bull run after this.
To be honest, I don't know if we already got started. Like for me, the biggest surprise of the end of this year, like what's happening now, I would have expected to arrive more in somewhere Q2 of 2024. So honestly, I'm not yet 100% convinced whether this is really the start of something that is going to continue for the next few quarters and years, or whether it's kind of a small dip before we have more sideways movement for another 6 months and then we start again. So of course, this is if this is just a dip, it's a big one, right? So it could be that I managed to be surprised by the market yet again, after 7 years in it full time, but I'm not 100% convinced yet. I do think that if you look at all the previous cycles, there was always a very strong narrative. Like in each cycle, you had a few big narratives in the market that was driving the demand, driving the excitement. I do think that we are seeing the start of it now with ETFs, with real world assets, and so on and so forth. But I think that those two narratives, when you think about it, are a lot more institution driven than they are retail, and therefore I think that the actual impact is going to be longer lasting with a bigger market overall. But I don't think it's going to be as fast and explosive as the previous cycles that we've seen. So of course, I remain very. I mean, you will have gotten it's a rather optimistic panel on how the market looks, right? But so I am as well quite excited for what 2024 and even 2025 will bring. But are we thinking would I say now with full confidence we're back? Let's go. This is just up only for the next 2 years. I don't know, because I do think that honestly I did not expect it to be as early, as it did happen, and so I would still have a bit of caution. Even though if you look at 12 months from now, are we going to be bigger as an industry than we are today? Like that's a resounding yes. But are we off to the races right now? I think that there's still a bit of cautions there.
Yeah, of course, caution. But we put some sparkles on the banner because yes, we went through a quite difficult bear market. We were still here, a full room today. So we are. It makes a bit of it's good to be finally to see some green candles. Not only the market, the innovation, the builders are still there. So as you're a market maker, maybe you have a broader view on some other trend, new coins that you're working with. So maybe you want to share something with us about. We talk a lot about Bitcoin, but not only Bitcoin here.
No, I mean, I think that definitely we're seeing a lot of things, right? There's a lot of new coins that still, get issued. It is part of our business to work with them on the liquidity. I think that I don't know if there's one specific project that I would point out.
Solana. Maybe I've read some Solana Foundation's representatives maybe in the room.
Yeah.
It was crazy what happened with Solana in the last few weeks. So
yeah, I mean, definitely Solana definitely performed very well. I think that what is interesting. So again, the focus for me on looking at coins in general is like, what is the use? What is the purpose of this tech? What good does it actually bring? I think that when you look at Solana has very clear characteristics that no other chains have. I think that the type of usage, the type of speed or throughput that you can have on Solana is something that is almost unmatched. And so I do think that there are some use cases, some really mass and scaled use cases that can be brought through Solana. That for me is one of the driver of the success. What is interesting is also that Solana was having a very hard time after the FTX blow up, and when you look at the last year, it's shown a lot of resilience, which of course is always a good sign for such projects. So I think that why Solana currently is doing well, I think it's just simply because they actually have a clear value proposition. They actually bring something that allow very differentiated use cases, and that is part of their current success, I would say.
Yeah, so I take the opportunity to thank Solana and all the other foundations, which are member of the Crypto Valley Foundation Association. So we have Cardano, Solana, Web3, and Definity. Just talking about Casper. I think Casper are also a member of this.
My answer was not sponsored by Solana, but
No, that's why I also gave the name of the other. And they are all members of the Crypto Valley Association. So I hope that if you're not yet a member, you will join us soon. Then let's talk about regulation. It could be a bit boring, but why not? Regulation this year, we have seen this choke point 2.0 in the US. Quite hard now. What's next? What's next? You want to start?
Well, I mean, it was a choke point, but it's kind of just natural cleanup, I guess, before you kind of get to a healthier state, right?
But it was much harder in the US than anywhere else on the planet. Like if you compare to Europe, Switzerland, Asia.
I mean, some of the if you look at regulators in general, right? It's usually the Anglo-Saxon regulators who are the toughest in general in the space, right?
But what do they want to do? Like they want to just
I think legitimize it, right?
They just want to export their project to offshore. They just want to pump Tether. What is that?
Well, one theory could be like they want a clean house, right? And kind of everybody who actually is allowed to stay there, so that if you are a consumer, that you actually can trust in the providers that are there. The second is if you have someone who already has a dominant position, like let's say Binance, for example, right? That you want to try to kind of bring them into the fold after cleaning house. So regulation, I think, is going to be key for mass adoption. Right?
Are we still competitive in Switzerland, Dominic, with our regulation? Do you think we are still attractive on a global landscape?
Yes, certainly. I mean, it's still one of the few countries with the most progressive regulatory landscape. And I think Switzerland does a great job in iterating consistently on which is a very dynamic environment, right? But maybe to the US case, I would like to add. I agree. At least I think that this Binance event was kind of a de-risking event, and it kind of cleaned the space. Now we kind of only have Coinbase, we have the CME, and I feel like it was a move to make it more ready for the institutional entry or access. And also what I am keen to see is that we get more clarity on what tokens are securities, especially on ETH. It's still very unclear, while the SEC kind of behaves as they kind of acknowledge that it's a commodity with allowing, for example, the futures products. But I would like to see more clarity on that side, to be honest.
Why Switzerland? Why did you left Belgium or Belgium?
Yeah, so
You didn't left.
no, I didn't leave. No, our headquarters of Kirok is still in Belgium. I think that basically what matters when you discuss regulatory framework. I think the main thing is clarity, and that is something that currently is still an advantage in Switzerland. I think that's if MiCA actually is implemented by the end of 2024, it's still going to be a strong point of Switzerland, but not a differentiating factor anymore. But currently, it is a differentiating factor. I mean, being based in Belgium, for some of activities, we don't know what the framework is going to be like. We don't know how certain activities are going to be treated, and that is something that is extremely clear here. And so, why do we open an entity here? Of course, there's a lot of potential clients for our OTC desks, but also from the regulatory side of things, there is clarity. And I think it's very good for a market that you have tough rules, right? You need to have high standards, especially when it comes to financial markets. I think more importantly, we need to know that the rules are there, that they are known to everyone, and that they're not going to change every 6 months. And so that is also part of why the US approach is so detrimental, right? When you start regulating by just enforcement, you never know what's going to happen next. Here, you have a very clear framework in Switzerland, and that is for me it was clearly the main reason. Plus, of course, the commercial opportunity that led us to open an entity here.
And so, 2 European companies, Kaiko headquarters in Paris, and you still in Belgium. So, MiCA, is it good? I think it's good. So, what do you think about MiCA?
No, I mean it's as you said, right? It's gonna bring the EU forward. in terms of regulation quite a bit. It's gonna enable a lot of parties which were on the sidelines to kind of participate in the crypto environment. It's gonna, to be honest, it's gonna also, like when we design our products, they're also kind of based on, you know, upcoming regulation, you know, when you need stable price data, all the yeah, that you can, you know, go to your auditor and confirm it's okay, not just from an exchange or something, right? So MiCA, DAC8, right? Some of these regulations are gonna be crucial and are gonna hopefully bring new entrants into the market as well. By new entrants, I mean, you know, your asset managers, your wealth managers, and then their retail clients as well.
Okay, excellent. I see it's 7, so maybe you can open the question from the audience. Who is not shy to start? Lucas?
Thank you. I'm Lucas, and I want to ask a question because I lost some coins on Mt. Gox 10 years ago. So the supply side, they're supposed to come back, we get some of the coins, right, next year. And that's going to be a lot of coins because Mt. Gox had 80% of the trading volume, more or less, back then. So what do you think? You didn't have that in your calculation. You don't expect that, or is it negligible?
Good point. Thank you.
No, it's of course I expect it, but I think it will be a rather short-term event. We saw what happened, for example, with the sell pressure of FTX. It didn't have too much of an impact, right? And I feel if we are in a bull market, that kind of sell pressure gets compensated fairly quickly. And also, we are not sure how many of these Mt. Gox clients will sell, right? Maybe they also understand that digital assets are the best asset class that we have. So then they
what
might
was
not
the
want
price
to
they
sell.
bought like 10 years ago? They bought 10 years ago. Mt. Gox, when was that?
Yeah.
When was that? 10 years.
January 2014.
Okay. So quite a lot of interesting upsell to sell now. 10 years.
That's true.
Yeah.
But we also saw the long-term holders, or like when you look at the free float supply that is not moving in more than 5 years, it's also kind of up only. So I guess a good amount of Gox clients might also be pretty much in our camp, let's say.
Okay.
Hello, I'm Adrian from 21 Shares. I would like to ask, what's your opinion on Bitcoin ordinals, BRC20s, and all the innovation that is happening on top of Bitcoin?
I think you arrived a bit late.
Oh, I'm sorry. You talked about it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was the same. Yeah.
Yeah, we answered it.
So maybe during the...
Let's discuss afterwards.
Absolutely. Oh, I know the question, or...
Maybe later.
Okay.
Oh, thank you. Hi, I'm Rezvan from Tokeny.com. I would like to ask what's your opinion on brewing a civil war in Bitcoin? This is regarding Max Kaiser, let's say, tweet that mentioned that the ordinals are a bug and it will be fixed shortly.
I don't know if someone can answer here, or you take it.
You want to answer?
We can have answer from the audience. Huh? Super interactive.
Yes, I can try. I think it's good to that these guys, or like the kind of, how do they, the Bitcoin fundamentalists kind of trigger that debate. And I think it's healthy to have the discussion, and even if it might end in another hard fork, which I don't expect, but it's good to discuss the actual substance, because like I mentioned previously, Bitcoin as of now does not have a sustainable security model, right, with the current status. So we should think about it, and these guys should also like fuel this debate. In my opinion, it's a healthy debate.
Okay, we have one more question here.
Hello, guys. I'm founder of Curio. We focus on real-world assets. And what I've seen in the last few years is this rhetoric of real-world assets together with institution coming and so forth. And in the last few months, clearly after talking 2049, real assets was kind of a topic there. And also what I see right now is many foundations seeking to diversify their, treasury starting with T-bills like MakerDAO and so forth. Now, I was hoping to see a bit of that rhetoric here today, but I didn't see it. So I just wanted to ask, I wanted to ask you about, now that you were a bit bullish about Solana, maybe something about real assets. What did you stake there?
Can you hear me?
I bring you the mic.
So yeah, I mean, I definitely think again the reason why I'm personally interested in digital assets, right? I think in all, it's a better way to exchange value. That's it. I think it's a better way to exchange value. I think that's what we've seen as digital assets we've seen over the last 5-6 years are proof of concept. Are the first innovators representing value fully digitally. And why is it better to digitally represent value? Is because it becomes easier to transact on. It becomes easier to exchange 24/7, everywhere in the world, very fast, fraction of the cost, all of this. And so knowing that this is the very reason I'm overall bullish about digital assets, I think that representing more value fully digitally is for me the main reason to be active in the space. I mean, this is what for me matters most. I do expect that if you look at today, the overlap between traditional financial instruments and crypto, the overlap is very, very small. And tokenized T-bills, it's interesting because T-bills are the further away you could get from the kind of cypherpunk ideals from 6 years ago. And yet I believe this is tremendously positive for the space because it just makes the whole thing boring. But it's fine. It's not supposed to be 100% disruptive all the time. It just shows the potential that representing T-bills fully digitally makes them, all other things being equal, a better asset. And so I do think that if you look fast forward, I don't know if it should be 5 or 10 years, because again, everything that is regulated and that touches institution is going to be very slow. But if you look at 5-10 years ahead, I do think that maybe 50-90% of the overall volume of digital assets would be, regulated financial instruments as we know them today. And so I do think that that narrative that has been around for the first time I went to Consensus was in 2017. And there they all talked about, tokenized securities already. 6 years later, we're still talking about it, but I do think that the timing is a lot better now for all the reasons that Dominic presented also on the regulatory side. So for me, that is the most exciting part about this whole thing, is being able to represent value fully digitally, simply because it becomes more efficient, cheaper, faster. And if you can do that with JPEGs, and you can do that, with Bitcoin, and you can do that with T-bills, and you can do that with carbon credits, and you can do that with equity, and you can do that with bonds, and so on and so on and so forth. I do think it's one of the main reasons to be excited about the technology overall.
All right, we have lots of questions.
Hi, I'm Fabio. I'm a partner with Alpinum Law. My question is, we talked about mass adoption, and I'd like to know, what do you think can bring this trust? Because trust goes with mass adoption, vice versa, I think. What can bring this needed trust to allow or to enable this mass adoption to come?
Retail or
retail? I would say retail.
I mean, the key word here is trust, right? And digital assets, if they are designed properly, are trustless. So if actually you don't need to trust them, but I feel adoption, like especially from retail, will happen because the UX gets better. Some gamers, for example, they might not even know that they use blockchain, that the game runs on blockchain rails, for example, and will only then get familiar with the tech. I feel to get that kind of trust component, it needs more education, and it's a very complex space. So it's a long road to get there, I feel. But actually, to me, it's obvious that the technology is trustless. And currently, we are trusting centralized entities, which is, at least to me, kind of much worse.
I mean, also kind of the answer, also the real world asset question. I think in a world, there's a lot of stakeholders. Like, so kind of, if you want to change how things are done, you can't just expect it to go overnight. You know, there's a lot of consultations, and we are, for example, part of the consultation about how digital bonds are transacted on the blockchain, right? And it's law firms, custodians, etc., who are also part of this, and everyone has their opinion. Everybody has their also, you know, their staked grounds, kind of, which they want to protect, right? So I would assume that obviously in gaming or something, kind of where things are controlled by, you know, Sony and, you know, some publishers, right? It's gonna go faster, or in music or anything. But traditional finance, with law firms, governments, etc., right? You can't just sell your apartment without paying tax and proper, even though it's possible on the chain. No, the notary will still need to make a note, or at least kind of have some part in the transaction, right? So it's gonna take a while, but clearly we are going to that direction. I remember kind of, you know, when bond trades were done on paper dockets, right? And then kind of it came electronically, and then clearing systems, etc. So we're heading into the direction, but, you know, Rome wasn't built in a day.
Thank you. Carmen?
Thank you. I'm Carmen. I'm a member of the Sustainability Working Group in CVA. That's my best. So I think it's the first event of the year where I don't hear AI mentioned at all. So of course my question is about that, but probably, yeah, the question is, what is your outlook for AI in general for 2024, if we're going to the theme? But more specifically, of course, where do you see the role of blockchain? And we have seen a lot of some blockchain-based AI projects that are ramping up. Do you see, that as a solid trend? And overall, your thoughts about the intersection of blockchain and AI? Thank you.
So I'm definitely not an AI expert, right? The one thing that I'm excited about at the intersection, I guess, of AI and blockchain is around authenticity. I think that one of the things that potentially is the most threatening when you look at the evolution of AI is, you know, everything becomes fake, potentially. It's very easy to fake, you know, images, sounds, videos, and so on and so forth. And I do think that there's a very, an interesting role for digital assets to play in terms of authentication of truth. But then, of course, the question is, what is truth, and how do you vouch for it? But so it's somewhat a very partial answer, but that is the overlap that I see as potentially the most interesting. And there are lots of projects that are, you know, if you look at the guy like Sam Altman, he's right in the middle, right? Because, you know, he's somewhat influenced in AI, but then also involved in WorldCoin, where they try to have a way to authenticate that a human is a human. I'm not going to launch a WorldCoin debate, right? Because there are, you know, very clear questions around it as well. But I do think that it's an interesting topic, looking at how can we use the ability of digital asset to authenticate something combined with the potential threat of, you know, everything being made up in a world where AI is so prevalent. I think it's an interesting overlap, but that's about it on my end.
Maybe it's a good opportunity to remind that you might know more than us, Carmen, about that topic, because in the Sustainability Working Group, you just issued a paper on how could we mix AI and crypto, and it's available on cryptovalet.swiss.
What do you think then?
Yeah, let's ask question the other way around.
Great. No, I think so. Our report was kind of split in three pillars, and I truly believe in those. So we were looking at ethics. So how can blockchain support AI be a bit more ethical? And there's a lot of discussion: what is ethics? What, you know, frameworks you use? But it goes to mostly what you said. The other one is open source, so democratic AI, which I think, you know, blockchain is quite well suited there, we think, as a group. And the third one is green AI, right? So there's a huge, of course, energy footprint, carbon footprint. Now they talk about water footprint for AI and whether blockchain can support in that. So not too much more than that, but we definitely see 3 areas for sustainability through blockchain. Yeah, I don't know if the other. More in the report. Wow, thank you very much.
Okay, maybe last 2 questions.
Hello, I'm Jan Ritsu, and I'm wondering green. Hello, I'm Jan Ritzel, and I'm wondering, what do you think will be the three biggest narratives of this bull run, and in which order?
Well, I should start.
Price target.
Do you want to start, David?
Okay, let's see.
You start.
You start.
Yeah. So one of the narratives I'm very excited about is restaking. I think it will alter the space completely because it will eventually allow also non-applications to get permissionless innovation and inherit security from Ethereum. I think it will be one of the biggest topics in 2024 because it allows like all kinds of middleware, be it oracles, data availability layers, and so forth, to tap into the security, trustless security layer of Ethereum. And then maybe the next one is kind of, it's unclear to me how the integrated chain narrative being Solana, which also, I also think it was kind of overdumped back then, and now it performed super nice because it has crushingly good tech under the hood. Their parallelized VM is very impressive. And what I wanted to say is it's unclear to me how the integrated narrative plays out against the modular narrative. I feel I'm more on the modular side currently, but that is something that is worth monitoring, I think, and I also believe it will play a huge role going forward. And then the last one probably like centers around institutional adoption, basically, and everything that happens after the ETF is approved.
I just come back on staking. So one example of the lobbying action of the Crypto Valley, we just 1 month or 2 months ago issue an open letter for the FINMA together with the Swiss Blockchain Federation about the decision to impose banking license for staking in Switzerland, which is obviously not good. Let's hope that we try and succeed to make them change their mind, because yeah, just Bitcoin Swiss, you're number 4 staker on the planet. So yeah, we still need you. Maybe you will get a banking license, who knows? But for now, you don't have it. Yeah, that's our position, official position. So if you join us, you can help us do some lobbying in Bern. Not easy, but we have really good, they listen to us. Maybe that's interesting closing question. Let's all reply.
Sure, yeah. Well, for me, without a doubt, is regulation. That being, ETF, or just kind of the regulator bringing crypto into the limelight, making it a real world asset that kind of people can invest and trust in it, right? Second, supportive macro environment. That being, like inflation topic is probably over, right? We clearly see it today on the print in the UK, in the US, and obviously the price action. So that's all the macro topic. And last but not least, further innovation and further adoption of the blockchain, Solana, etc. Right?
Your last one.
Sure. So 3 things. I guess the first one will be real world assets for me. Really, what I'm most excited about. I think it's not a 12-month horizon, to be honest. We're talking about something that will take more time, but it's interesting to see that the proof of concept are bigger and bigger and getting closer to one another. So if I look at maybe in the next 2-3 years, that's what would be hopefully the biggest narrative. Quite surprisingly, the second would be gaming. I think that there's again a lot of overlap between the two. A lot of use cases that actually make sense for digital assets to be used in gaming, and an adoption speed that I think will be much faster than for institutions. So I'm quite excited about gaming. And the third one is options. It's quite interesting when you look at purely the financial side of digital assets today. I think that options about 10% of spot on digital assets. It's usually the opposite in most traditional markets. So I think that the development of options market, what they allow for institutional investors, the higher efficiency of the capital, but also the tailor-made risk that exposure you can have, for me makes me quite excited about option as a lever for growth in the next 12 months.
All right, thank you. So we could make it kind of endless. I like this interaction. I think it will be good to continue during the networking. So now we'll close. So what's next for Crypto Value Association next year? So in Davos, it will be our next event. We will be there. And if you are a crypto startup, there are only a few more days, 3 days, to apply. So you can talk to Benedek, who's the chair of the startup working groups, and also Ekaterina there, board member and a regulatory working group chair. So if you're compliant, sorry, 10 working groups. So that will be next in January. And then in February in Geneva, with Olga, co-chair of the Western Switzerland chapter. Say hi, Olga, so that people can come to you. We'll have the Web3 banking event in Geneva. So if you want to explore the opportunity of crossing Web3 and banking in Geneva, the private banks and so on, who you all know. So it will be quite interesting. And then fast forward to June. Second and third Crypto Valley Conference flagship event, biggest, so you should all be there with your friend. And yeah, maybe one. We have Tilmar here, co-chair of the education working group. Just published the paper, the research journal of the Crypto Valley Association. So you can come and check it and discuss with Tilmar. I see another CVA officer, Maxime, board member. So now you are, to talk to. I think like 5, 6, 6 people in this room. So I think night's over. Once again, I want to thank Google for hosting us in this amazing location, so close to the station for us coming from Geneva. It's perfect. And coming back to Geneva in a few minutes. And thanks again also Google for the apéro networking that will continue now. So thank you very much for being here, and let's continue.
Excellent. Thanks. Merci, Dominic. Thanks. Good one. Thanks. I'm looking forward to downloading the report. Huh? Every year it's a nice report, but it was a nice preview.
This year, I think it will be one of the best ones.
So you participate to it? You did work with it?
I think I presented was
amazing. Not only presenting, also doing it. Oh, that's why you